Today, if you look at pharma industry at large, it's facing severe challenges coming in from the regulatory bodies, whether it is FDA, whether EMA, or local or regulatory bodies, because industry is fast evolving, fast changing, because there is a lot of advancements in the science, in terms of technology, in terms of compliance, in terms of safety, and so on and so forth. To that extent, regulatory bodies are putting in enormous amount of efforts in order to maintaining and managing the patient safety to the best of its efforts, and to which pharmaceutical industry is trying to cope up with these challenges. If you look at clinical trials, there is now guidelines coming up very clearly in terms of how industry can manage clinical trials remotely and virtually. Post-COVID, we have seen that increasing over in a big way, and thereby the guidelines are coming up very clearly in how to manage the safety and integrity of clinical trial data, compliance of that, more importantly the traceability of the data. That's at one end. Second end is there is also greater emphasis around in terms of understanding and usage of real-world evidence data coming in as a part of the clinical trial management. That's the second part. Third is also in terms of managing adverse events. Today, when we look at the patient safety is at its core when it comes to the regulators, when it comes to the healthcare professionals, and also to the pharmaceutical industry. So the pharma industry is taking enormous efforts in terms of putting in processes around adverse event management, tracking, and also reporting. Having said that, we have also seen the changing stance of regulatory bodies in terms of bringing in speed and fastness in terms of providing approvals. So the best example is the approvals coming in for vaccines during the COVID, which is nothing but accelerated approvals which are coming in for the life-saving drugs. So the real-time monitoring and also application of some of these technologies like AI is changing the entire landscape of how industry is looking at adapting to the challenges of the regulatory bodies and meeting up to their needs. If you look at supply chain, which is again one of the important and critical element of the pharmaceutical industry value chain, there again guidelines are very clearly coming up in terms of serialization and traceability with respect to end-to-end visibility of the product, right from the manufacturing side up to the last mile in terms of consumption. That's where the processes and the guidelines are coming up from the regulatory bodies, which the pharmaceutical industry is trying to adopt and make sure that they are actually meeting to those expected guidelines. When you come to the pricing, there is a value-based pricing wherein we are able to see guidelines coming up in terms of how well the products, both the innovator products and also the generics, are getting complied to those pricing guidelines which are coming up from the from the regulatory bodies. Market access is again getting more importance and prominence. There again we are seeing the guidelines coming up very clearly. So at large, when you look at pharma industry today, is expected to be much more agile and much more ready in terms of ever-changing regulatory guidelines from these regulatory bodies, and making sure patient centricity is managed, patient safety is looked at, and towards that all those strategies are well in place in terms of making the regulatory bodies requirements adhered to. Thank you.